Howdy howdy everybody, it's your boy TK. Just wanted to come talk to you guys today about today's comic. Sorry, I'm having to stand off to the side just because it's very reflective. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about Absolute Green Arrow, a new comic introduced to the Absolute series, and it is absolutely phenomenal. The Absolute universe is a side universe that's ongoing next to the main canon, but it's in its own little universe. It's led by Darkseid. Pretty much, TLDR, he created his own version of the universe where the bad guys prosper, good guys suffer, and that's pretty much it. It's a darker, grittier universe, and you can always pick up All In Special number 1 to help explain how this universe came to be. But for this particular comic, I should have pulled it out, but there's another previous comic called Absolute Evil number 1. It's a one-off where all of the villains from all the other comics from each one have gotten together, and now they're all getting together as like a conclave to help deal with these rising heroes. And this, I would say, takes place after that because Green Arrow, Oliver Queen himself, was killed in that issue. And this one is a continuation from that point. And, before I continue on from there, obviously this is made by DC, came out in 2026. It's a 6-issue run. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's supposed to be like a slasher, murder mystery kind of vibe where in this, you're following Dinah Lance, or Black Canary as she's known as, where she's investigating the murders linked to Oliver and the billionaires that may have had, their hand into his death. And so you're following along, trying to figure out, is this Oliver Queen reborn? Is it somebody else that's taken up the persona of the Green Arrow? And I think this is a really good and gritty way that just reminds you of which universe you're in. It's not over the top. I think it fits in super well. And I think it's going to be a really fun storyline to just follow along. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I picked this up. I got the variant with the very shiny cover and, trying not to show off myself because, I want some anonymity when it comes to everything. But yeah, Absolute Green Arrow. It's so nice to see them continuing to grow the universe. They're not breaking their necks doing it. They're introducing them in a timely fashion. And all of the characters are just so good. You actually get to follow along with Black Canary, how she's having to deal with all of these issues. You get to see the brutality of this Green Arrow show up and just murk everybody. And it's so good. And to the point to where, if you can just... Sorry about that. Managed to pause it and then come back to this. But yeah, the paneling and like the colors for the comic itself, just showing you a page or two, hopefully no spoilers for you, but you get to see this new iteration of the Green Arrow where he's actually kind of a threat and a menace, where normally he's kind of laughed at for his goofy antics. And this one has such a good vibe because even his arrow, something that's really cool with it, or his bow and everything, it has the machete parts and everything. And it is just such a good use of design and characterization. This is a more brutal, not Robin Hood-esque version. You almost get that kind of Ghost Rider kind of vibes from him. And I think that's just so nice to have in a character. And if you're looking, like I said, for another Absolute comic to follow, I would definitely recommend picking this one up. Like I said, it's brand new. It's going to have 6 issues. And it's going to be super solid. One moment. Sorry about that. Just giving myself time to just back away and everything else like that. But yeah, Absolute Green Arrow. It's super solid. I really do love it. Some of the themes, if you want to know what that, what's going on inside the story. Like I said, it's like a slasher story horror. Like I said, you're following Dinah trying to figure out who's killing all of these billionaires. And even though it's showing her kind of in their pocket, it's kind of having her face the reality of this world, the corruption involved, the billionaires who are just so willing to throw away everybody beneath them, that, can she herself stand for that? But, she may not agree with his methods, but she may be questioning her own beliefs in the system. So yeah, that slasher story horror. You have that judgment of who lives, who dies, who deserves to die. And that's such a very big topic when it comes to heroes and villains. Does somebody deserve to die just because they're evil? Or, whatever standpoint you come up with it, it's up to your own interpretation on, what you deem as, judgment worthy or not. Obviously, that societal corruption, you have billionaires who, through whatever means they've done, to have generated that much revenue and assets, like, you do have to take advantage of people. I know there's like a famous quote that says there's no ethical billionaire. But, that's just another thing that these comics like to focus on. Like, those in power stay in power and abuse it, through whatever good intentions they could have. There's only so much you can do. And with this comic as well, we get that that vigilante, type behavior. Kind of like the old school Batman, where he was seen as a vigilante, not necessarily a hero. And I think I really like those roots of just, he's not just a hero, he's not an anti-hero in that matter, but like, it's just this, like, this dude is killing people, he is taking them out. Is it good? Is it bad? We don't know. He is a vigilante, and understanding, maybe over time we'll be able to understand, what brought him to do it. Is this Oliver Queen? I'm suspecting it isn't, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is some weird way of, like, the Green Arrow coming back in a way. But yeah, besides all that, the art style, obviously I showed you some of the art in it and everything. It has a lot of nice dark tones, which adds to the grit and fits perfect in this world. Obviously, with this being Green Arrow, the color green is very vibrant, especially a contrast against the dark. And I think it does a really good job. And the best way to describe it, like, I'll just go to a quick page right quick. But a character that comes to mind whenever I think about this particular style, where, just right here, you have the green arrows sticking out of the bodies, nice and bloodied, oranges and, dark tones and everything. And I think the character that comes to mind when I think of that is Daredevil, especially in one of his runs where, he hits you with the quote, somebody was like, I'm with God. And he's like, if you were right, he wouldn't have sent his devil. And you get that scene of him fading into the dark and seeing his red eyes from his suit, obviously. Like, he's blind, but you get that just dramatic contrast that really reminds you of, oh, shit's about to hit the fan. And I think this comic really, maybe got some inspiration from that. And I think that would, like, it just really got me going, because Daredevil is a favorite Marvel character, but obviously this is DC. But, you bring up these comparisons because if you can draw it from other classics, I think that just really adds to the media you're reading or digesting. And I think this comic has done a really good job. It sets the tone. It's doing great setup. I can't wait to see it expanded. I know eventually we're going to have Absolute Catwoman. I believe it's already out as of today. It's a Wednesday right now for me. And hopefully I'll be able to get that, and we'll get to see, some of Serena's shenanigans. And I think having a lot of these, like, lesser stories, they're not less, but you have like these little smaller plot lines where it just really fills out the world, because while Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman are dealing with monstrosities, we have these more down-to-earth type comics That's why I like Flash. That's why I like Green Lantern, things like that. Just because it does such a good job in just world building and setting up that atmosphere. But I probably talked enough off your ear about it. I'm super excited to talk more about the Absolute series. Next time I won't get a reflective comic, It makes it kind of hard to stay anonymous and everything, but, hopefully you guys had a good time. I'll try better next time to get a better picture. All right, everybody. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye.